Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Today, we're taking on Atlantis.
Ah, the lost city.
But not just the myths. We've got a source claiming it was real,
Oh, this I gotta hear.
tied to the biblical flood, even suggests, well, we might be living on it.
Whoa, hold on. That's a big claim right out the gate.
It is, and full disclosure, we're exploring it, not saying we believe it.
Healthy skepticism is always good, especially with these kind of topics.
Exactly. Makes it more fun to dig into.
So, whose wild theory are we tackling?
Mike Fournier, articles on Golgotha Bridge. That website's a rabbit hole itself.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that one. Lots of alternative history stuff.
Right, so Atlantis.
Yeah.
Most folks know the basics. Plato, island nation, gone in a flash.
Vanished beneath the waves, supposedly.
Right, and Plato puts it about 9,000 years before his time, destroyed by the gods.
That's the usual story.
But Fournier, he says, wait a minute, that 9,000 years? Mistranslation.
From what?
Egyptian hieroglyphs, the ones Plato's source, Solon, was working with.
Interesting. So what's the real date then, according to him?
5,590 years before Solon, which puts us much closer to the biblical flood, like 4,300 years ago.
So he's linking Atlantis to the flood, basically.
One and the same, maybe, making it way more plausible.
Yeah, if it ties into a known event like that. Still, dating ancient stuff is always tricky.
Oh, absolutely. Lots of debate there, for sure.
So, timeline shifted. Now what?
Fournier connects the Greek myths to the Bible, says Poseidon, the Atlantis god.
Yeah, god of the sea, earthquakes, all that.
He might be a fallen angel.
Okay, that's a new one.
And Poseidon's kids, the ones he had with humans.
Right, those demigods causing trouble, I bet.
Those are the Nephilim, those giant beings from the Book of Enoch.
Interesting. The Nephilim pop up in lots of ancient traditions. Powerful, often destructive.
And get this. He compares the Grove of Poseidon, the sacred spot in Atlantis, the Garden of Eden, both holy sites, violated, leading to disaster.
Whoa, connecting Greek myths and the Bible directly. Bold move.
Then there's orichalcum, this red glowing metal from Atlantis.
Never heard of it.
He links it to the glowing stone, Sohar, from Noah's Ark.
Huh. Glowing stuff, ancient times, sure, why not? Could be some luminescence thing, some materials do that.
Right. Makes you wonder what they knew back then that we've forgotten.
Lost tech, maybe? Who knows? Makes you think.
So we got this blend of myths and Bible stories, but how did the civilization work, practically?
Good point. You need more than just myths to make a society run.
Fournier talks about an ancient NATO comparing Atlantis's defense pact
Wait, like a military alliance?
to the unity of humans before Babel, which some see as rebelling against God.
So pre-Babel unity as global cooperation, maybe even a global civilization? Fascinating idea. But ancient alliances were different, right?
Oh, totally. Can't just project modern stuff back then.
Right, their whole world was different.
So we got this advanced civilization, but the question remains.
Where was Atlantis?
And Fournier, he drops the bomb. It was Pangaea.
Wait, the whole supercontinent, not just an island?
The flood either smashed it up or sank it, then it resurfaced, became our continents. Whoa! So we're walking on Atlantis. Mind blown.
That's a creative interpretation, to say the least. Pangaea was millions of years ago, way before any flood time frame.
Huge discrepancy there. How does he explain that?
He doesn't quite say, but it seems like he's implying a different view of geological events.
Like the flood, or maybe other huge disasters, changed Earth faster than we think.
Maybe, but that's a big departure from how we understand geology now.
It is. Challenges everything. History, myths, even the ground we stand on.
It's certainly thought-provoking, even if you don't buy it.
This is getting deep. We got Pangaea Atlantis, reshaped by who knows what.
Yeah.
What else does he throw in?
Oh, there's more, and it involves the Euphrates River.
Wait, what? Middle East River? How does that fit in?
Some traditions say fallen angels are imprisoned under the Euphrates, right?
Yeah, I've heard that.
Fournier connects that to the Atlantic Ocean, the Puerto Rico Trench, the deepest part.
Okay, now that connection seems like a stretch. How do you get from a river to the Atlantic?
Geographically, no way. But he might be using the Euphrates symbolically. Lots of traditions link it to the underworld, death, that kind of thing.
So not a literal connection, more like a symbolic gateway to this other realm.
Sounds like it. And by linking it to the Atlantic, specifically that trench, he's implying that Atlantis, maybe even those imprisoned angels, are connected to that deep, mysterious part of the ocean.
Okay, I see how he's weaving it all together, but it's a lot to process.
It is. We went from Plato to the flood, Nephilim, Pangaea, now this. Where's he going with all this?
That's the million-dollar question, and we'll try to answer it as we ducks deeper. We've laid the groundwork. Now we got to unpack what it all means, the implications of this wild Atlantis theory. What do you think so far? Anything jumping out at you?
Honestly, it's a lot. Overwhelming, but in a good way. It's making me rethink everything I thought I knew.
Same here. What I find fascinating is how Fournier connects stuff that seems totally unrelated.
Right. Whether you agree or not, it makes you look at things differently. How myths, religion, even science could all be pieces of the same puzzle.
Exactly. He's making us see the world through a new lens. Consider stuff we might have dismissed before.
Even if some of it's out there, the questions he raises are definitely interesting.
Totally agree. Makes this whole deep dive worthwhile.
So stay tuned, folks. We're going to keep unraveling Fournier's arguments, see where they lead, and what this whole Atlantis thing might tell us about history, myths, and our place in the world. All right, so we've got all these wild connections, but you might be thinking, so what?
Yeah, good point. Why should we care about Atlantis being Pangaea or linked to the Euphrates? What's the takeaway for us, in the real world?
Well, one thing Fournier keeps coming back to is this idea of history repeating itself, civilizations rising and falling, knowledge getting lost.
Like we think we're so advanced, but maybe we're not the first. Maybe this has all happened before.
Exactly, that linear progress, always moving forward. He's saying, hold on, it's more cyclical.
Civilizations get to a certain point, then boom, collapse, gone, leaving just bits and pieces for later folks to find.
And Atlantis, if it was real, it's the perfect example. All that knowledge, tech, gone, poof.
And imagine if they were super advanced, beyond us even, we'd be missing huge chunks of the puzzle.
Exactly. And that brings up another point Fournier makes, how we might be misinterpreting the past.
You mean like taking myths literally when they're maybe metaphors or something?
Kinda. He's saying what we call myths, legends. Those might be distorted versions of real events.
So Atlantis sinking, the flood, the Nephilim, those fallen angels under the Euphrates. Yeah. Those could all be echoes of real stuff, just twisted over time.
That's what he's suggesting, makes you think, right? Maybe myth and history aren't so separate after all.
Like those optical illusions. You see one thing, then shift your view, boom, whole different picture. Maybe history's like that. Got to look at it from a new angle.
Exactly. That's what makes it so interesting. We're not just talking Atlantis. We're talking how we think about the past.
I'm challenging all those assumptions.
Well, right. And that's valuable. Even if you don't agree with everything Fournier says, he makes you think.
No, I got to say, that Pangaea thing, that's a tough one to swallow. Supercontinent reshaping that fast, even with the timeline adjusted, it doesn't fit with geology as we know it.
I hear ya. Mainstream science says plate tectonics, continents drifting. It's slow, millions of years.
Right. So how does Fournier square that circle?
He doesn't completely dismiss plate tectonics, more like he adds to it, says maybe those catastrophic events, they sped things up.
Like a catalyst. Normally it's slow, but then boom, massive shifts happen. Earth's crust going crazy.
Yeah, like those slow processes we see now. Maybe that's not the whole story. Maybe there were periods of intense activity way beyond anything we've recorded.
It's kind of mind-blowing. Changes how we view the planet's history.
Hey, and it reminds us we don't know everything. Science is always evolving. What seems impossible today might be proven true tomorrow.
Makes you wonder, what else are we missing? What else don't we know about the past?
Exactly. And that's what's so exciting about this. We're pushing the boundaries, thinking outside the box, considering what if.
But if Atlantis was Pangaea, that huge, shouldn't we have found more stuff by now? Ruins, artifacts, something more concrete?
That's the logical question, right? And Fournier, he tries to address it, but his answers might not convince everyone.
What's he say?
He says those cataclysmic events that reshaped Pangaea, they probably wiped out most of the evidence.
So the very thing that created our world also destroyed the proof of what was there before. Like a cosmic reset button erasing everything, leaving just scraps behind.
A poetic way to put it. And it raises a cool question. What if the biggest events in Earth's history are the hardest to find proof of? Like their very nature hides them.
It's like solving a mystery where the clues are scattered, faded, piece it all together from fragments, whispers of what happened.
And that brings us back to Fournier's main point. Got to be open to different interpretations, consider things that seem crazy at first glance.
Because what if that crazy idea leads to a breakthrough, a new understanding of how it all works?
Exactly. That's the whole point of this deep dive, expanding our minds, not just about Atlantis, but how we view the past in general.
So we've gone deep on Fournier's ideas, But where does it leave us? What's the practical application of all this?
Well, I think one big takeaway is the power of perspective. There's always more than one way to look at things, whether it's history, myths, even science.
You've shown us that, right? Challenge those assumptions. Be open to new ideas, even if they seem weird at first.
And the past is never really settled. It's always changing as we find new stuff, new interpretations.
Like history's a living thing, constantly evolving.
He's also shown how connected everything is. Myths, religion, science, they can all inform each other, give us a fuller picture.
And maybe the biggest thing, he's made us think about consequences, our choices today, how they affect the future.
Especially now, with all the problems we're facing, climate change, social divisions, it's more important than ever to learn from the past.
Atlantis, if it existed, maybe it's a warning, a lesson we got to learn from.
And that's what makes this whole deep dive so powerful. It's not just about Atlantis, it's about us, humanity, our choices, our future.
Couldn't have said it better. Even if you're skeptical, Fournier's ideas, they make you think.
And that's a good thing, right? To question, to wonder, to keep searching for answers.
Makes this whole journey worthwhile. So, as we move into the final part of this deep dive, we're going to explore how Fournier ties it all together.
What's the purpose of these connections? How does this relate to our lives today? Big questions, but I think the answers might surprise you.
Stay tuned, folks. We're about to go even deeper into Atlantis, the flood, and the secrets they might hold for understanding who we are and where we're going. Well, we've been through a lot with Mike Fournier's Atlantis theory, huh?
We have. From Plato to Noah's flood, giants, continents rearranging. He's got it all going on.
And remember how he talks about history repeating, civilizations rising and falling?
Yeah, like we're not so special, it's all happened before.
He takes it even further this time. Says Atlantis getting wiped out, tied to the flood, remember?
Right.
That wasn't just some random thing. It was because of what humanity did today. Like divine judgment.
Oh, so Atlantis got too big for its britches, messed up bad, and got punished.
That's what he's saying. There's a moral side to it. Choices having consequences, even for whole civilizations.
Makes sense. He keeps bringing up those other stories too. Babel, the Garden of Eden.
Each time humans get ambitious, greedy for power, and boom, disaster strikes.
A pattern, he says. Like we haven't learned our lesson, still making the same mistakes.
Atlantis is the warning. Even if they were super advanced, it didn't save them.
Sobering thought, isn't it? Makes you wonder, are we on that path too?
Exactly. What can we learn from Atlantis if it was real so we don't end up the same way?
That's the question Fournier wants us asking. He's not giving easy answers, more like making us think about our values, our choices, where we're headed.
Like holding up a mirror saying, look at yourselves, humanity. Are you really so different?
And he does it through these stories, myths, tying them together, past and present, really makes you think.
It's what makes this deep dive so cool. Not just about Atlantis, but about U.S., what makes us tick.
Yeah, exploring the human condition, why we do what we do, consequences rippling through time.
But I still got to be honest, that Pangaea thing, even if you accept the rapid changes, it's hard to swallow.
Oh, totally. It's stretching things, even for Fournier.
So wrapping up, what does it all mean? What do we take away from this Atlantis deep dive?
Well, one thing's for sure, it's all about perspective. Fournier showed us there's not just one way to look at history, myths, even science.
He made us question what we thought we knew, consider wild possibilities, be open-minded.
And the past isn't set in stone. It changes as we find new stuff, new ways of understanding it.
It's alive history constantly being rewritten.
And Fournier showed how connected everything is. Myths, religion, science, they all add to the picture.
But the biggest thing for me is that message about consequences. What we do matters. It affects the future.
Especially now with all the problems we're facing. Gotta learn from the past, make better choices.
Atlantis. It's a warning, a story that maybe, just maybe, can help us avoid making the same mistakes.
It might not have all the answers, but it makes us think, and that's a good place to start.
Couldn't agree more. So, to our listener, don't stop here. Keep digging into these myths, these stories, question everything, look for new perspectives.
The search for knowledge never ends. It's a journey, and we're all on it together.
Thanks for joining us on this Atlantis deep dive. Hope you found it as mind-bending as we did. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and most importantly, keep exploring.